My name is Thomas Casey. I'm the president of the Huntington Free Library and Reading Room, and we're located at 9 Westchester Square in the Bronx. That's at the intersection of East Tremont and Westchester Avenue. The oldest streets in the Bronx, right over here, the section used to be called Ruthsdorf when the Dutch were here. And it was actually the capital of Westchester County, and the town hall was just up the block, and we still have some of the old remnants of the foundations where right now the Department of Motor Vehicle is located up on East Tremont. This is a historic building. It's a New York City landmark. It was built in 1880. And what's interesting about this building is if you walk through the front door, you would see the sign up on the top, the Huntington Free Library and Reading Room. Well, actually, it started out as the Van Schaik Reading Room. And if you take a look at the architect's drawing of the Van Schaik Reading Room, you'll see that it was a small cottage-style Gothic architecture. It was done by one of the more renowned architects of the time, Frederick Clarke Withers. He was also noted for being one of the main architects of Gothic churches. So people will always confuse us as, are you a library or a church when you go by, because it does look like a church. But this library started as a love story, matter of fact. As it turns out, Mr. Van Schaik, Peter C. Van Schaik, his wife passed away in 1876. So Mr. Van Schaik passed away in 1880 and asked in the will his executors engaged to buy property here in Westchester Square area of the Bronx and have this beautiful building built. Then it turns out the town people of Westchester Square, Westchester, did not want the library. It would have been the first library to open in the Bronx because the New York Public Library did not start until about 1898. So it just sat here vacant until this gentleman here, Collis P. Huntington, was approached by some local people to endow the library. And that's what he did in 1891. He endowed the library, made his son Archer Huntington the president of the library. So Mr. Huntington donated money, and the people of Westchester donated to his honor this beautiful painting done by Edgar Marshall. Edgar Marshall is well known for doing many, many etchings of presidents. As you can see in the library here, we have an etching of Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, all done by Edgar Marshall. Now, back at the turn of the century, just after the Civil War, Mr. Marshall did this beautiful etching of Abraham Lincoln, and then sadly he was assassinated, and the value of these prints went from $1 probably up to $1,000. So we're in right now what we call the main reading room, and in the back here we have what's called on the original architect as the chess room. And we also sometimes call this the map room. We have an 1850 map of Throgs Neck done by John McNamara. Not only was he a good map maker, but he was a great author, wrote many stories and books on the Bronx, and he's famous in walking down or bicycling every street in the Bronx. We have maps, we have some old home news from the Bronx, and we have a display right now of racetracks in the Bronx. Many people don't know that the Belmont Stakes, which started in 1866, actually started in the Bronx. August Belmont was a jockeyman, and with him and the American Jockey Club started the Jerome Racetrack. Leonard Jerome was one of the presidents. You have the Jerome Racetrack on top. The Morris Racetrack followed the Jerome Racetrack after the Belmont Stakes moved to Morris Park, just down the block. And then earlier was the Fleetwood Racetrack. You have the nice Tiffany clock, grandfather clock. It was donated to the library by a brigadier general of the National Guard. At the time, he was, I guess, just a colonel, I believe. We have some old typewriters. This one here says it's an electric typewriter. And what that means is that it plugs in and provides a light to type. It's not a full electric typewriter as we know. So this is how you would have Googled 100 years ago. Unfortunately, our fireplaces no longer work, but in the old days, all these rooms are heated by coal or wood fireplaces. Eventually, we got gas in the building. In our addition, the gas lines are still there, but now they run electricity. So this is the chest room, or known as the mat room. And on occasion, it used to be also called the men's writing room. This addition was added in 1891. Mr. Huntington, not only did he endow the library, he added on a new section. There's an apartment for a caretaker upstairs. Put in new lights, new electricity finally came in here. It was gaslight at one time. We do have some images of the library before our next door neighbor, the Apple Bank, came in. This would have been 1891, these images are from. Now this is our stack room. This is where we have most of our collection of books, much older books. For example, collection of Dickens, Shakespeare's works, Washington Irving. We have fiction, biographies over here. And it's in pretty good shape. All our lights are fixed. We're very thankful for HBO, Boardwalk Empire. They came into the library and filmed 3 episodes here. One in this section. And we actually have a 1930 edition that was used for one of the Boardwalk Empire tapes. They did a nice paint job, put in some new light bulbs to make it feel for the 1920s. These lights are electric, but these pipes used to run gas. And it's been spruced up a little bit because we have to thank the local high school here, the Pelham Lab high school students. They've been volunteering on a weekly basis, coming in. We're an all-volunteer library. There's no salaries. We're all volunteer, work on donations and earnings on a restricted endowment to make this go. Another fireplace, a non-working fireplace. And all these desks in here are original to the 1890s, 1900s. We do have photographs of women sitting. This is the ladies' reading room, reading and writing and doing their reports, writing their letters. Now, different from a library, this is a reading room. It's not a lending library, meaning people could come in, grab a book, read the book, then put it back on the shelf for somebody else to read. Because back when this library opened in 1891, you really couldn't afford to have a book leave a building because it's so valuable. So it was meant to be here to read, come back on another day to pick up where you left off. You might see tonight we're set up for a lecture. We have a monthly lecture series. We've been having these East Bronx History Forum lectures for 9 years. We're going into our 10th year. We usually have 35 to 55 people coming for history lectures. They're free lectures, and yes, they're very well attended. People do like to know about history. Tonight we have a lecturer from City Island Historical Society, Barbara Donaldek, and she's going to lecture about movie making in City Island. You've heard of the movie City Island and The Bronx Tale with Robert De Niro, filmed out at City Island, but there were many, many other films that were filmed in shorts and Law and Order and all CSI type of shows filmed out in City Island, and Barbara's going to tell us all about it. We're probably going to have the house packed at 7:30. March 19th, here at the Huntington, the East Bronx History Forum, we'll be doing Lost Amusement Parks of the Bronx. That's Boston Point Amusement Park, Starlight Park, a little bit of Freedom Land, and they'll be doing that. I think it's the Gothic. And then again in June, it's the Antique Roadshow. That's where everybody brings in something historical from their own collection and talks about it also. Of course, I have a lot of things stacked up when I didn't do my presentation last year.
We were going to do something, we, as in Bobby Yapuzzo and I, prohibition in the Bronx. Prohibition on City Island. Anybody have any stories, you know, any articles? Please let me know, let Bobby know, and we'd like to put something together and do a display.
Yeah, because we have, you know, they build a lot of those really fast boats on City Island.
Right, there were rum runners, yeah. There's one on display in the counter up front. And,
Baby bootlegger.
right,
which
right.
is on Lake Champlain right now.
Really?
Real quick,
Okay.
yeah.
And the Treasury Department, the Prohibition Bureau, would come on City Island, find out who was having what built, and then they would say to the boat builder, you build this one that goes faster. Because otherwise they couldn't catch the guys. So there's a lot of different little things that are going on. Everybody made a lot of money doing Prohibition. Weren't supposed to, but you did.